How are you guys doing? First time in 2020. This is the Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, even though it's more of a video form. I got to read this because it's been a while since I've been here. But this is the show where I go and look at low-owned plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any questions related to fantasy NASCAR, that isn't a stupid question, feel free to shoot my way at BrandonCruzDFS on Twitter. Most importantly, take everything here with a grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that is just not my problem. Let's check everybody's feelings at the door. Let's look at the Clash at Daytona. Let me get some housekeeping out of the way in case you haven't checked out my videos that I've released earlier this year. I have quite a few videos on my YouTube channel regarding the Daytona 500 lineup construction, talking about talking about lap data at road courses with Race for the Prize. We also have another one, and if you checked it out earlier this evening, we did a live show looking pretty much at the Clash, going in detail about projections and kind of how we imagine lineups are going. You can find that on YouTube as well. You're going to see some more live streams throughout the week. If you're watching this, which you should be watching in the morning, Tuesday evening, 5:30 Eastern, we'll be doing another live show. Pearson, myself, talking about the Clash with possibly another guest to keep you updated there. And we're going to be going live again before the duels on Thursday, same time. And then we're probably going to do a Truck Series and Xfinity live show if you guys are showing up, if you guys are actually showing interest in it. And then 10 a.m. Eastern, I believe. Check my Twitter. But Sunday morning around 10 a.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a Daytona 500 live show, probably about an hour, answering questions, looking over the race. Come check us out. I have a Patreon. If you look right above, Patreon at Brandon Cruz or / whatever it is. Brandon Cruz DFS. You can get my full NASCAR package this year. $18.99 covers all three series. Gives you everything you want to look at. Projections, cores, a heat map to help you look through the drivers really easily. Everything is there. You can read about it. And they're a lot cheaper than some of the bigger websites. I'd highly suggest going there. You also get access to my Discord. Now I got that all the way. Let's look at the Clash. Now, first and foremost, we need to change this to a test factor because that's all these people are doing. They're testing. We don't really got to worry about DNF sponsors. We don't got to worry about it here because it is the Clash. Only 21 drivers here. This is rough. Straight up. Looking at it, there's going to be a lot of chalk. Personally, I'm not playing a whole lot of money. I would highly suggest that you don't. These slates are horrible. Absolutely disgusting. That's how I look at it. That's not the website's fault. That's not FanDuel. That's not DraftKings. I don't believe SuperDraft has anything up yet. I don't know if they will. I know PrizePicks doesn't have anything at the time of recording this. So right now it's just DraftKings and FanDuel, and it's not their fault. This is just the race that we have on. We have a ton of chalk. We got a lot of guys starting in the back of the field, going to draw a lot of attention. Pierce and I talked about it in our live video earlier. If you want to go into more information, or if you want to see more information about that, I highly suggest you go check that out. But how am I looking at this race? How am I approaching this? Well, as I said, I'm not playing a whole lot of money. I'm not playing the $8 after recording this. I might throw a lineup in there in the fear of missing out, but mainly I'm focusing on 3-max. I'm focusing on single entry tournaments because I just don't like this grid. There's going to be a lot of duplicate lineups. Everybody's going to go in the same direction for lineups. And when I mean the same direction, everybody's going to have the same player pool pretty much. There's almost like 12 guys worth playing, maybe 15 if you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. Anything else is just a bad play. And for them to work out, really, really good drivers got to do bad things and not work out. So this is disgusting. You can see my ranking here. This is my own head ranking, how I view these drivers in the back. I guess we're just going to talk about the drivers. We don't really have to go from the bottom of the grid or the top, but Ryan Blaney starting first. I imagine he's going to be chalk. If you imagine that Denny Hamlin doesn't lead laps, I am looking at this as Denny Hamlin's going to lead the first part of the race, then Chase Elliott is going to get by him at some point. But it's going to be Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin racing for the win. We're going to see Harvick. We're going to see a couple other guys compete for the win there, but it's going to be those two guys as your main lap leaders, as your main guys putting fast laps down. And I imagine that the fast laps don't necessarily reflect the leader just because there's only 21 cars on this big, huge racetrack. So you might see fast laps being distributed between the top 5 guys during the race. So, say if Hamlin's leading, I would expect Elliott to run a faster time. And so on and so forth. So I don't necessarily think that the leader is going to get all the fast laps. Maybe in the beginning of the run, but I just don't see it lasting the whole race. Alex Bowman, look, he's a terrible play starting second. I don't like him at all. I actually need to change that to an F, because even if you're pivoting off of the chalk, I mean, Alex Bowman is a horrible, horrible play. I imagine he's going to test. Because, look, and when we go into test, I guess I really didn't talk about that. The drivers that we have seen and heard talk about testing, Brad Keselowski, Matt DiBenedetto, some of these guys have talked about that, hey, this is more of a test session for the race in 2 weeks. If you look at Ty Dillon, I don't know what is more testing than Ty Dillon. He's driving for 2311 Racing in a car that's not even his. And then we just got word that earlier this week that he's going to be running this race for the Gaunt Brothers team and the 96 in 2 weeks. So not only is Ty Dillon trying to work everything out for 2311 Racing, he also is going to use this as, hey, you know what, I can use this as a time to get used to the track. I can get it to know what I need in my car. I can tell my team that when we return in 2 weeks. So I imagine Ty Dillon is going to be probably testing the most out of anybody, if testing is even a thing, which I imagine it will be. So I just want to put those out there. Right now, it's those 3 guys. I'm hoping that tomorrow morning we'll hear something, we'll hear rumors or something about people testing or not taking this stuff seriously. Eric Jones would be another one that I would look at to test, because he's in a new car. He needs to know what he's working with. I'm pretty sure he's going to freak out when he goes into that car and sees how poorly that 43 is compared to what he was running in the Toyotas last year. Anyway, continuing on, Alex Bowman, not a good play. I don't like him at all. Denny Hamlin should lead a good portion of the race. I wouldn't be shocked if he led right off the bat. If he leads lap 1, look, it's a 2-mile racetrack, actually over 2 miles. There's a lot of passing zones. He's starting on the inside lane. That's going to have a huge advantage entering turn 1. If he can get below Ryan Blaney, which I think he has a good possibility of doing, he can pass Ryan Blaney and lead lap 1. Hamlin would probably be my initial lap leader that I look at. Brad Keselowski, he's already said it's testing. I'm fully on board that Penske is not going to take this race seriously. This race does not pay anything out worth anything unless you're the winner, and that's one guy out of 21 drivers. So I don't think the Penske drivers are going to race well at all. That's the hill I'm dying on. Look, I'm entering one lineup. I think I'm playing like $36. You know, I'm moving all the money I had for this over to the Truck Series, over to the Xfinity Series later in the week, some of the duels. But I just don't like this slate at all. I just don't like it at all. So I don't think the Penske guys are going to work at all. I don't like them. That's just me. I think he tested. Now, his ceiling is 6th place. I think that's where he would finish if he's running. I don't imagine that. I got him finishing around 17th. You can get my... Actually, I didn't even think about that. Hold on. All right, we are back. I completely... it just blew my mind. I completely forgot I was giving my projections out for free this race, because I absolutely hate this race. I'm being very, very, very aggressive in my projections here. And my projections really reflect how I'm viewing these drivers, how I'm seeing them run. And this is based on, let me just make sure here. All right, there we go. Sorry, gotta wipe the dust off. It's been so long here. But these are my projections. I totally forgot I was mentioning that, because I think this is a joke of a slate. That's how bad it is. But you can view my projections right here on the side. I'm not covering them or anything. I hate this race. And so I would project Brad to just lose a crap load of positions. You know, that's why I have him projected for a grand total of 12 DraftKings points. Obviously, you can argue with me. You can say that, no, Keselowski's going to run. He's going to finish 8th. He's going to run very well. I don't see him losing that many positions. Hey, that's on you. I think he's testing. I don't think he takes this race seriously. That's just how it is. William Byron, I don't like him at all. Tyler Reddick, I mean, even, look, the lineups are going to be centered around 4 to 5 drivers. I mean, like I said, there's 12 drivers who are actually worth anything. And I imagine that even if you're entering a lot of lineups, which you can cover a lot of ground doing that, I don't like this slate to do that at all. Because if you got 12 drivers who are actually good, quote unquote good, and a vast majority of these are going to be very chalky plays down here, maybe throw in a Denny Hamlin, a Ryan Blaney, a Chase Elliott, depending on who you think is going to lead a lot of laps, that lends itself to a lot of duplicate lineups, and it even lines itself up with a lot of duplicate lineups if you take pivots. Say if you play 5 chalky guys and you make a somewhat pivot. Maybe instead of in your lineup, instead of Ryan Newman, you play Matt DiBenedetto, or instead of Matt DiBenedetto, you play Ryan Newman. Things of that nature. I think those are still going to be duplicated as well in a contest as big as the $8. What is that? 22,000 lineups. I imagine that the winning lineup is going to be duplicated. There will be lineups that aren't duplicated. I just don't see those being optimal. That's just how it is. Chase Elliott, probably my strongest play. Yeah, I got him for 64.2 DK points. I don't see how you don't play him, man, unless you're taking a wild stance and hoping he wrecks or something. I mean, it's rough, man. Elliott's coming in as the favorite. Elliott's coming in as a guy who's been extremely well at the plate tracks, or not the plate tracks, the road courses. This is a road course race, man. This is all Elliott. I don't see it really being anything other than an Elliott type of race. Cole Custer, interesting play here. I don't think we're going to see a lot of ownership on Cole Custer. I don't think he finishes inside the top 10, but that ownership, his place differential doesn't kill you. Do I see Cole Custer finishing 21st? No. Do I see him finishing 20th? No. 19th? No. 18th? No. 17th? No. 16th? Maybe. I mean, I think he'll finish around 16th to 12, 16th to 11. If that's the case, and because he finishes here, maybe, one of the strong guys or one of the chalky plays right here crashes or does something stupid, Cole Custer might be my favorite play. I could be wrong. I only have him projected for 26 points, but that ownership, the position he's in, I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. Eric Jones, like I said, I think he's going to test. I'm not too high on him. Joey Logano, starting 10th. Like I said, I think the Penske camp really just runs in the back. I think they save. I think they don't have. They go in knowing they don't have the car to win this race. If that's the case, is it even worth racing? Is it even worth tearing up the car? There's a good chance that the car that they bring to this race tonight, tomorrow night, whenever you're listening, that's the car they bring in 2 weeks. So are you gonna destroy the car? Are you gonna really push it hard? There's a good chance that motor that they bring to this race, it's only 35 laps. I mean, that's just slightly more than a practice session. There's a good chance, maybe not the transmission, maybe not even the motor, but there's a good chance a lot of the components on this car is what they use in 2 weeks. If that's the case, and Penske is like, hey, I don't think we're going to use this. Let's not tear up the equipment. Let's see if we can bring this same equipment back in. Let's see if we can at least use some of the same stuff. Obviously, they're probably going to bring a different motor, bring a different transmission, probably redo the shocks later. But even that situation, you don't really want to beat stuff up. You want to put it through what it's going to be going through in 2 weeks. And because of that, I don't think Logano races either. I think Penske sandbags. I think Penske tests. That's where I'm sitting. Ryan Newman, he'll finish around 13th to 11. Don't really have anything there. Matt DiBenedetto is another option. I mean, I'm here with Cole Custer and Matt DiBenedetto. Of maybe these are the drivers that I use as a one-off to try and get different. Even Chris Buescher, but I think a lot of people are going to go there as well. It just, I hate this. I hate that we're in a situation where Matt DiBenedetto has said that, hey, this is more of a test session. What am I supposed to do with that? Come on, DiBenedetto. Come on, really? What am I supposed to do with that? I obviously don't think you're going to win now because you view it as a test session. I know you're not going to arrive to the racetrack with a car that's really worth anything. So, I can't project you to really do anything. I can't have you finishing, anywhere near the top 8. So I think you finished, 13th, 12th. I think this is where you're at. If you don't, you might work it, but right now I got you projected for 29.45. I got you projected for a fast lap because you are testing. Maybe you say, screw it, let's go for a Q lap or something there. But, I don't believe much there. Chris Buescher, though, I think he finishes inside the top 10. I think he lucks his way into a fast lap or maybe 2 because Chris Buescher was extremely well at getting through traffic at the road course last year. I know there's only 21 cars, but if you can maintain your position between, 16th, 17th, 15th, 14th in a real race, that might give you the edge. That might give you the encouragement to try and actually kind of run, see what you can do in this race. If that's the case, I think you're running around 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th during the race. Maybe you push it, finish 10th. maybe even push it, finish 8th or something. That's why I see him having 38 DK points right there. That's the situation I'm going with. Ty Dillon, like I said, I think he's flat out testing. Even in situations, I mean, he's cheap. I don't think he's going to be good. I do think he'll be very good at the road course in 2 weeks. I think this is a test session. I think this is a practice session. I don't have him projected for much. Now we get into the chalk. Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Harvick, Truex, Austin Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Eric Almirola. None of these guys are going to finish probably outside the top 15. If anything, Eric Almirola is probably going to be the worst guy out of this group. But this is going to be it. I mean, your lap leaders, or as people say, dominators, your whatever you want to use as your main term of fast guys. I mean, Harvick, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Truex fit into that category. People with great place differential. Stenhouse, Eric Almirola is starting last. You can't even lose you anything. And if I'm a fan of Cole Custer, if I'm a fan of Harvick, then that would mean that Eric Almirola should arrive with some speed, should contend for 13th place, so that's going to make him useful. There's a good chance Eric Almirola is optimal. There's a great chance that Truex, Harvick, Kyle, you can argue for all these guys being optimal. The thing goes is I think between this back 6 drivers, I think 4 of these guys are optimal. I really do, and if that's the case, it's going to depend on who your lap leaders are. It's going to depend on if something happens here to knock one of these 4 guys out, and maybe bring one of these guys starting 5th through 15th in the optimal lineup. I mean, it's rough. Right now I'm leaning towards Kurt Busch running extremely well, Kyle Busch running well, Harvick and Truex running extremely well. But that's actually, I might need to bold these up. You might not be able to see them too well. That might be better. You might be able to see those better now. But yeah, I think that's where it runs. I'm looking at this race in a sense of a practice session. So let's say most weeks you arrive to the racetrack and you have 3 practice sessions, and this is practice session number 1, and it's the only practice session since there's no practice for the Roval in 2 weeks. Unless I could be wrong, unless I haven't read that. If that's the case, this is practice session number 1. You don't care about the money for first. If that's the case, I am trying to project who has the fastest and most competitive car in a practice session. If that's the case, I'm leaning more towards one of the big teams. So Stewart-Haas, Joe Gibbs Racing. Penske is really good at practicing, but I think they're going to be doing something crazy to try and get a good car in and really focusing on this as a practice, so I don't see them being competitive. That's the reason why I'm so aggressive on some drivers and not aggressive on others. And if that's the case, if I was a team, if I was a driver, I would just write this event off. Say, let's bring the setup that we brought last time. I know it was in a different package, but let's bring something similar to that. Tighten it up a little bit, because with the high downforce that they ran last time, you probably ran the setup a bit loose to try and get that car to rotate better with that big spoiler in the back. So if you're taking that same setup to this track, you're going to tighten it up a tad, because you probably made it really loose with the last package. If you tighten it up a tad, you might be a bit too tight in this race. Sure, you have a break. I think it's 15 laps or 20 laps into the race. So maybe that's when you take that wedge out. That's when you change that track bar. And so if that's the case, you're not going to be very competitive the first 10 laps if you miss the setup. You know, even if you're in the ballpark, you're not going to be getting fast laps if you're kind of off. You got to make wholesale adjustments or something like that. If that's the case, you come out of that stage break or whatever they're going to call it, you come out of that and you got a car that might be competitive. So you have 10 laps to try and get through the field. You might get maybe 1 fast lap, 2 fast laps out of that. And I'm kind of speaking in general here because I'm not really sure on what team that's going to be or what teams this is going to describe. If that's still the case, you're going to run really bad at the start of the race. You're going to pit, then you're going to try and work your way through the field. I don't think we're going to see a lot of yellows, because even if NASCAR is trying to make this interesting, I don't think any of the drivers are going to wreck. to bring out a reason to throw yellow. So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at this as a test session, and who's going to be in certain positions at the end of a test session, at the end of 35 laps on a road course, with a break in the middle after having people who are obviously not on pace in the start of the race trying to get through the field. Because of that, this is just the worst slate I've seen, and I highly advise you to not play really any money worth anything, or play single entries, play 3 maxes at all. Pierce brought up a really good point that this is a situation where maybe a lot of MME players, guys who are going to enter 150 lineups, they can cover all the bases with 150 lineups. I think they're going to run into situations where they're going to be tying with lineups as well. Maybe not as much because they're covering all the bases. But if that's the case, again, I got to stop saying that. But if that's what's going on, you might want to avoid contest where you can enter 150, because those guys are going to be covering all those bases, and you might just want to focus on 3 max or something. And if you're going to play a lineup, I would highly advise you to probably play one of the not bad lineups, not bad players, because I think Bowman's a bad play. I think Byron's a bad play. I think Reddick's a bad play. But when you get to Cole Custer, Eric Jones, Newman, DeBenedetto, Chris Buescher, Ty Dillon, the optimal lineup will have one of these guys in it. That's how I see it. Or at least an optimal lineup that doesn't have as many duplicated lineups in a big contest. And that's just how I'm approaching it, man. I don't like this at all. I don't like how much chalk we have. I don't like how everybody's going to be in the same ballpark of lineups. And that's about it, man. That's about it. If you have any questions, or if you see anything that you like, you can tune into our live stream tomorrow, or you can leave the questions here and I'll answer them throughout the evening, throughout tomorrow. But yeah, tomorrow 5:30, right? I hope it's 5:30. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but it should be 5:30 Eastern. Live stream with me and Race for the Prize and another guest, hopefully. Stay on the lookout. You can follow me at BrandonCruzDFS on Twitter. You're already on the YouTube channel, so if you want to, domestically abuse that like button, maybe commit genocide on that subscribe button so I can get monetized after I just said to do that, that'd be appreciated. And check you out next time, guys. Thank you for watching. Join my Patreon if you like what you're seeing here. Donate. You don't have to join for the package. You can just donate to support the channel. Thank you guys very much. 2021 is here. Look for a lot of videos coming out on this channel this week, and we'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you later. Not we. I don't have anyone else here, but I'll talk to you later.